Oh, honey, sit down with me here on this old porch swing, the one that's creaked under my weight for more years than I care to count. It's one of those quiet evenings where the sun dips low over the cornfields, painting everything gold, like it used to back when life felt simpler, or maybe I just remember it that way through rose-colored glasses now. My name's Evelyn, but folks around these parts call me Granny Evie, and I've got a story that's been bottled up inside me like moonshine in the cellar, waiting for the right time to spill out and wash over everything. You see, it all starts with a heartbreak so deep it carved a hollow right through my chest, one that still aches when the wind whispers through the pines or when I catch a whiff of fresh-baked apple pie, reminding me of happier times gone by. I was just a girl of 19, fresh out of high school, in this little dot on the map called Willow Creek. Iowa, small town, big dreams, you know, the kind where everybody knows your name and your grandma's recipe for rhubarb pie. World War II was raging overseas like a storm you couldn't outrun. And my sweetheart, Tommy, well, he was the handsomest boy in the county with eyes like the Mississippi on a summer day sparkling with mischief and a laugh that could chase away any storm cloud brewing on the horizon. We were thick as thieves, me and him sneaking off to the riverbank under the cover of fireflies, dreaming up a future full of white picket fences and babies with his curly hair and my stubborn streak. He worked the family farm mornings and evenings strong as an ox plowing those fields while I helped at the diner slinging hash and coffee to the locals who grumbled about gas rations and blackout curtains. I was just a girl of 19, fresh out of high school, in this little dot on the map called Willow Creek, Iowa. Small town, big dreams, you know, the kind where everybody knows your name and your grandma's recipe for rhubarb pie. World War II was raging overseas like a storm you couldn't outrun. And my sweetheart Tommy, well, he was the handsomest boy in the county with eyes like the Mississippi on a summer day, sparkling with mischief and a laugh that could chase away any storm cloud brewing on the horizon. We were thick as thieves, me and him, sneaking off to the riverbank under the cover of fireflies, dreaming up a future full of white picket fences and babies with his curly hair and my stubborn streak. He worked the family farm mornings and evenings, strong as an ox plowing those fields while I helped at the diner slinging hash and coffee to the locals who grumbled about gas rations and blackout curtains. Tommy enlisted right after Pearl Harbor hit the news like a thunderclap shaking the whole nation. Said it was his duty to go fight for freedom and apple pie and all that stars and stripes stuff we held dear. I believed him, waved that handkerchief from the train platform like every other gal in town, my heart swelling with pride even as fear gnawed at my insides like a hungry pup. I'll be back before you know it, Evie. He hollered over the steam whistle, and we'll have that wedding under the old oak tree just like we planned. I nodded, tears blurring my vision, watching that train chug away, carrying him off to basic training and God knows what else across the big blue ocean. The days stretched into weeks, then months, each letter from him a lifeline pulling me through the worry. He'd scribble about drills and buddies, homesick for Ma's cooking, and how he'd dream of my smile to get him through the mud and the marches. I wrote back every night, pouring out my love on those thin airmail sheets, sealing them with a kiss and a prayer. Folks in Willow Creek rallied together, victory gardens popping up in every backyard, scrap metal drives, filling the firehouse, and us gals at the diner saving bacon grease for the war effort like it was liquid gold. But underneath it all, I carried this knot in my gut, knowing one day the letters might stop. And stop they did. The telegram came on a Tuesday rain, pounding the roof like God's own tears, drumming a dirge on the tin. Mama was at the stove stirring beans when the Western Union boy knocked his cap and hand eyes downcast. We regret to inform you, it read in that cold typewritten font, your fiancé Thomas Riley was killed in action aboard the USS Hornet sunk by enemy fire in the Pacific. No more details, no gentle words, just those stark lines hitting me like a freight train. I crumpled right there in the kitchen floorboards, cold against my cheek, Mama's arms wrapping around me tight as she could, while Daddy stood frozen in the doorway, staring out at the downpour like he could will the words away. Heartbreak, honey, it wasn't just broken, it was pulverized, ground into dust that I spent decades trying to sweep up and make sense of. Tommy's ship, that brave carrier full of boys like him, went down in flames, torpedoed by some Japanese sub they never even spotted on the radar. No body to bury, no grave to lay flowers on. Just a gold star hanging in the window of our little farmhouse, a silent sentinel for the empty chair at the supper table. The whole town turned out for the memorial service, Pastor Jenkins droning on about sacrifice and heaven's reward, but I barely heard a word, my mind replaying Tommy's last letter promising forever. Folks brought casseroles and hugs, whispering how strong I was, how proud he'd be, but inside I was a ghost wandering through days that blurred into nights hollowed out and adrift. Life, she don't wait for you to catch your breath though, does she? I picked myself up, or at least I tried forcing one foot in front of the other, working double shifts at the diner to keep busy rolling bandages for the Red Cross and rationing sugar like it was the last sweet thing left in the world. The war dragged on newsreels at the picture show showing D-Day invasions and island-hopping victories, but for me, each headline was a reminder of what we'd lost. That's when the first secret started bubbling up, one that twisted the knife even deeper. See, Tommy and I, we weren't as careful as we should have been one starry night by the river, our young hearts racing faster than good sense. A few weeks after the telegram hit, I realized I was carrying his child, a little piece of him growing inside me, unexpected and terrifying. Didn't tell a soul at first. Scandal in a town like Willow Creek could have ruined me, branded me the fallen girl forever. But Mama, she had eyes sharp as a hawk's and a mother's intuition that cut through any facade. One evening as I sat pale-faced peeling potatoes, she put down her mending and took my hand. "Evie, honey, what's eating at you? You ain't been right since that awful news." I broke, then tears spilling like the rain outside, confessing everything in whispers about the baby and the fear and how I didn't know if I could face it alone. She hugged me tight, her embrace warm and fierce, no judgments, no sermons, just quiet strength. "We'll face it together, sugar," she said. "Family sticks no matter what. Your daddy'll come around and the good Lord above, he'll provide." Little Tommy Jr. came squalling into the world that crisp fall, a tiny bundle with his daddy's dimples and a tuft of dark hair, just as stubborn as could be. Raising him alone wasn't easy, not with the war still thundering and ration books getting thinner than my patience on a long day. But he was my light, that boy pulling me through the fog of grief with his gummy smiles and chubby fists grabbing at my apron strings. We made do canning peaches from the orchard out back, trading eggs for flour at the co-op and leaning on neighbors who pitched in without a second thought. By the time the war ended, VJ Day celebrations lighting up Main Street with fireworks and cheers, I thought maybe we'd turned a corner, the world piecing itself back together like a quilt mended with careful stitches. Yet even in victory, the shadows lingered. Tommy's ma, she never quite forgave the circumstances, though she doted on little Tommy, spoiling him with peppermint sticks and stories of his pa's heroism. I kept that secret close, guarding it like a fragile egg, not wanting to tarnish his memory or burden the boy with whispers. Life in Willow Creek chugged on post-war boom, bringing new folks to town, shiny cars and soda fountains. But for me, the heartbreak echoed in quiet moments, like when I'd rock Tommy to sleep humming the lullaby Tommy used to love. It shaped me, honey, made me tougher than old boot leather, but also softer in ways, teaching me that love don't always come in neat packages. It sneaks up, breaks you open, and leaves you forever changed. And that's just the start of it, darling, the hook that pulled me into a life full of more twists than a country road. But hold on, there's more to tell about the struggles that came after, the secrets that unraveled, and the resilience that kept me going through it all. Stick with me now, and maybe by the end you'll see a bit of your own story in mine. Oh, honey, now that I've got you hooked with that heavy start, let me take you back a ways further to the roots of it all, the early days that shaped me like clay under a potter's hands before the war came crashing in like an uninvited guest. Born in 1925 right here in Willow Creek, Iowa, a speck of a town tucked between rolling hills and endless cornfields where the air always smelled like fresh earth after rain, and the church bell tolled the hours like a heartbeat for the whole community. My folks were simple, hard-working types, Daddy plowing the fields from dawn till dusk, his calloused hands steering that old John Deere tractor like it was an extension of his soul, and Mama tending the kitchen garden, her apron pockets full of seeds and secrets passed down from her own ma. I was the middle child sandwiched between Big Brother Harlan, who was off chasing adventure even as a boy, and little sister Bess, who trailed after me like a shadow full of questions and giggles. Our house was a white clapboard farmhouse with a wraparound porch where we'd sit in the evening snapping green beans or shelling peas, the rhythm of it all, soothing as a hymn. Life back then felt like a lazy river, slow and steady, no big worries, just the cycle of seasons, planting in spring, harvesting in fall, and hunkering down for winter with quilts pieced from feed sacks and stories told by the wood stove's glow. Daddy'd spin yarns about the Great War he'd heard from his pa tales of trenches and mustard gas that made my eyes go wide, but he always ended with how America pulled through strong as ever. School was a one-room affair. Down the dirt road, Miss Hargrove, the teacher with her wire-rimmed glasses and no-nonsense bun, drilling us on arithmetic and history from McGuffey readers that smelled of ink and old paper. I loved those books, honey, lost myself in stories of pioneers crossing the plains in covered wagons, or George Washington chopping down that cherry tree fairy tales mixed with facts that made the world feel bigger than our county line. Summers meant barefoot days swimming in Willow Creek, the water cool and clear over smooth stones, us kids daring each other to jump from the rope swing while Mama hollered from the bank about not tracking mud inside. We'd picnic on checker blankets with fried chicken and potato salad, the kind that stuck to your ribs, and laughter echoing till the fireflies came out dancing like tiny lanterns. Folks in town were tight-knit. Y'all knew your neighbor's troubles as well as your own. The general store run by old Mr. Jenkins, a hub for gossip and goods, where you trade butter for nails or hear the latest on Roosevelt's fireside chats crackling over the radio. The Depression had hit us hard back in the 30s, bread lines snaking down Main Street and dust storms choking the sky, but Willow Creek held on bartering what we could. Daddy selling hogs at the stockyard to keep the mortgage paid. I remember one winter, so lean we ate cornbread and milk for supper. 3 nights running Mama, stretching the flower with prayers and ingenuity. Yet even then there was Joy Church socials with potlucks where the ladies outdid each other on pies and the men fiddled tunes that got toes tapping till the stars wheeled overhead. As I got older, say around 12, 13, the world started shifting under my feet like loose gravel. Harlan enlisted in the Civilian Conservation Corps, up in the Black Hills sending home $1 a week and letters full of how he was planting trees, fighting floods, building dams for the good of the country. It fired something in me, that sense of purpose, bigger than our farm, making me dream of nursing school or maybe teaching like Miss Hargrove. But dreams for girls in those days were often sidelined by chores and expectations. Mama teaching me to sew hem straight as an arrow and bake biscuits light as clouds. A woman's place is the heart of the home, Evie, she'd say, her hands guiding mine over the dough, but her eyes held a spark of something more, a quiet rebellion from her own youth cut short by marriage at 16. Then came Tommy into my life like a summer squall, unexpected and full of energy. He was the Riley boy from over the ridge, tall and broad-shouldered with freckles across his nose from working the fields and a grin that lit up the county fair. We met at the harvest dance in the barn loft, hay bales for seats and lanterns, swinging from the rafters, the band playing hoedowns that had everyone two-stepping. I was 15, wearing my best calico dress, the one Mama made from a flour sack print, my hair in braids with ribbons. Tommy asked me to dance his hand warm and sure on my waist, and from that first twirl, we were inseparable, stealing moments at the soda fountain, sharing cherry phosphates, or walking the tracks after school, trading secrets about our families. This pa was a widower, tough as nails from the old country, Irish stock with a temper like lightning, but Tommy had a gentle way about him, quoting Bible verses or whittling whistles from willow branches. We'd sit by the creek skipping stones, dreaming big. He talked of joining the Navy someday, seeing the world beyond Iowa's borders, while I confessed wanting to travel too, maybe to Chicago with its skyscrapers and jazz. Those talks bonded us, honey, wove our hearts together with threads of hope and youthful fire. By the time I turned 17, we were courting proper, chaperoned by porch lights and town tongues, but our love burned bright stealing kisses behind the lilac bushes or under the harvest moon. Life wasn't all sunshine, though. Even in those early years, the farm struggled with droughts that cracked the earth like old leather and prices for corn so low, Daddy paced the kitchen at night figuring sums that never added up. One summer, Harlan came home from the CCC with tales of the big cities, but also worry about the war clouds gathering in Europe, Hitler marching, and Mussolini strutting like they owned the map. Radio broadcasts crackled with tension, Chamberlain's appeasement, and Franco's bombs over Guernica words that sounded far off, but Mama fretted sewing union suits for the troops, her needle flying faster than usual. I graduated high school in '43, the class of 20 kids, most boys itching to sign up as soon as they could. My diploma felt like a ticket to somewhere, but with the war heating up, jobs were scarce. So I started at the diner, waiting tables in a starched uniform, pouring coffee for farmers and traveling salesmen, hearing snippets of news that painted the world in shades of gray. Tommy and I planned a future simple but sweet, a wedding in the spring, a little house on his pa's land, kids running underfoot. He gave me his class ring on a chain to wear close to my heart, promising eternity in a whisper that still echoes. But innocence like that, it don't last forever, does it? Pearl Harbor changed everything that Sunday in December, sirens wailing over the airwaves, Japanese planes bombing our boys in Hawaii. Willow Creek froze, then rallied flags waving, enlistment posters everywhere, the draft board busy as a beehive. Tommy came to me, eyes serious as stone, saying he couldn't sit idle with his country calling. I begged him to wait, tears hot on my cheeks, but he held me close, said freedom wasn't free, and he'd fight so our babies could grow up safe. That night we clung together on the porch, swing the stars witnesses to vows unspoken our love, a fragile light against the gathering dark. Those early years, they were the foundation, honey, the good soil that let me weather the storms ahead, teaching me family faith and the grit of small town living. Little did I know how those lessons would be tested, stretched thin as a worn-out dish rag in the years to come. But that's for later now. Just picture me young and full of promise, the world at my feet, unaware of the heartaches waiting just around the bend. Expanding on those school days, I recall the spelling bees where I'd stand, tall, reciting words like accommodate with 2 C's and 2 M's, earning a ribbon that Mama pinned to the icebox for luck. Recess meant kickball in the yard dust flying and shouts of safe or out, binding us kids in a web of play that forgot the hard times at home. Winters brought sledding down Cemetery Hill, the whoosh of snow under runners, and the sting of cold on cheeks, rosy as apples, laughter cutting through the chill like a warm knife. Mama's kitchen was my first classroom, too, learning to churn butter, the dasher slapping cream till it turned golden, or rolling out pie crust thin enough to see through her voice, soft with tips, light hands. Evie, don't manhandle it. Sundays were sacred, rising early for Sunday school and starched petticoats, singing Amazing Grace with the choir, my voice joining the harmony, tentative at first, but growing bold. After church, the potluck spread, fried chicken potato salad with that tangy dressing, deviled eggs and pies galore, blackberry cobbler still warm from the oven. With Tommy, our adventures multiplied, hayrides in fall, the wagon jolting over ruts, blankets tucked around us, sharing stolen sips of cider, his arm a steady anchor. Spring brought strawberry picking in the patch behind his house fingers, stained red with juice, our baskets overflowing as we flirted and planned. One 4th of July, we watched fireworks over the fairgrounds, bursts of red, white, and blue, mirroring the pride swelling in our chests. America, the beautiful land of the free, even as war loomed. The town itself shaped as the blacksmith's clang of hammer on anvil, the train whistle mournful at dusk, pulling freight to Chicago. Mr. Jenkins at the store slipped me extra candy for Tommy's sake, winking as he tallied the bill. Neighbors like the widow Hayes brought soup when Daddy caught the flu, her kindness a thread in the community quilt. As war edged closer, rationing started, sugar stamps and booklets, tires scarce as hen's teeth. I helped Mama knit socks for soldiers' needles, clicking in the lamplight prayers woven into every stitch. Harlan wrote a boot camp drill, sweating under sergeant's bark, but proud to serve. My world narrowed, yet expanded heart tethered to Tommy, but mind wandering to the maps and the paper marking battles in Europe and the Pacific. Those days built my spirit. Honey, resilience born in the everyday, the love of family, the comfort of routine, setting the stage for trials that would test every fiber. Early life, a gentle prelude to the symphony of sorrow and strength yet to play. Oh, honey, if those early days were the calm before the storm, then what came next was a whirlwind that tore through my life, leaving scars deeper than any plow furrow in the back 40. With little Tommy Jr. in my arms, just a few months old, and the war winding down on the radio victory parades, marching in the newsreels, I figured we'd catch our breath, maybe build something steady on the ashes of what we'd lost. But fate, she had other plans, darling, piling on struggles, one after another, like hay bales in a barn raising, till I thought my back would break. It started subtle at first, those post-war blues settling over Willow Creek like morning fog that wouldn't lift folks coming home, changed, hollow-eyed and jumpy from the battles they'd fought. Raising Tommy alone was a trial right off the bat. No daddy to toss him in the air or teach him to whistle through a blade of grass. Just me scrubbing floors at the diner till my hands cracked and feet ached like I'd walked to Des Moines and back. His grandma Riley, she stepped in some, spoiling him with store-bought overalls and tales of his pa's bravery, but there was a distance there, a whisper of resentment over the circumstances that never quite faded. I'd catch her eyeing me at family suppers, her lips tight, like she'd swallowed a lemon, wondering if I was good enough for her boy's legacy. Money was tight as a rusted gate, rationing easing, but prices shooting up faster than corn. In July, the farm barely scraping by with Daddy's age, catching up, and Harlan off chasing jobs in the cities, leaving Mama to mend more than just clothes. By the 50s, things should have boomed. They called it the American dream, shiny suburbs and baby boomers everywhere, but for us it felt like chasing a greased pig. I married again, thought maybe it'd steady the ship, met a fella named Roy at the church social, a quiet widower from the next county over with steady hands and a pickup truck that ran most days. He took to Tommy like a natural, teaching him to bait a hook and fix a flat tire. We settled into a rhythm on his spread, raising chickens in a garden that fed half the neighbors. Little sister came along, a girl we named Lily after the wildflowers by the creek, her giggles filling the house like sunlight through lace curtains. For a spell, it was good honey, Roy's laugh rumbling deep, and suppers around the table with stories swapped like trading cards. But the Korean War snuffed that light quick as a candle in the wind. Roy got called up in 51 reserves, pulling him overseas to frozen hills and forgotten fights. Letters came sparse at first, then trailed off rumors of ceasefires that never stuck. Tommy was 8 by then, old enough to ask questions, his eyes big and searching. "When's Pa coming home, Ma?" I'd hug him tight, spin yarns about Roy's heroism to mask the fear gnawing my gut. Then the knock came again, that dreaded Western Union shadow, Mama's face crumpling as she read it to me. Roy gone in some ambush, frostbitten and bullet-riddled, no hero's welcome, just another flag and a boy who shut down tighter than a clam at low tide. Widowed twice over at 26, I was the talk of the town, not in a kind way, whispers of bad luck, or worse, following me like a stray dog. Tommy turned inward, skipping school to roam the fields, fists clenched against the world, while Lily clung to my skirts, too young to understand, but sensing the storm. We sold the chickens to make ends meet, boarded rooms with travelers passing through, but pride kept me from the welfare line, even when the cupboards echoed hollow. That's when the first big secret cracked open, one I'd buried deeper than Grandpa's old war medals. Turns out Roy had a past, a gambling debt from his bachelor days that collectors came sniffing around for hounding the farm till the bank notices piled up like autumn leaves. I fought at Honey, lawyered up with the county attorney, but lost the place in 54 foreclosure auction, selling everything for pennies on the dollar, packing our lives into a battered Ford, and heading to my folks for shelter. Willow Creek shrank in the rear view that day, the fields blurring to green streaks. My heart heavy as lead, Mama welcomed us with open arms, her kitchen still the heart of it all. But Daddy's health was failing, lungs black from years of dust and toil, coughing through the nights like an engine ready to seize. We squeezed in Harlan, sending what he could from factory work in Chicago, but tensions simmered, Tommy lashing out as school fights breaking out over nothing, his anger a mirror of the losses piling up. I took a job at the mill sewing parachutes for the Air Force, fingers flying over the machine, the hum drowning out the ache, but it left me bone tired. Come evening stories to the kids half told before sleep claimed me. The 60s rolled in like a freight train full of change, civil rights marches on the TV and rock and roll blasting from car radios, but for us it was more heartache than hope. Tommy grew into a lanky teen full of fire and questions, the Vietnam War heating up on the draft lottery like a bad hand dealt twice. He argued with me nights on end, posters of protesters on his wall. Ma, why should I go die for some politician's game? I'd plead with him, eyes stinging, remembering Tommy Sr.'s duty, but deep down, I knew the world's gone madder than a wet hen. Harlan came home for Christmas '67, gaunt from the line in Detroit, whispering about union busts and pink slips, the economy shifting underfoot like sand. Then tragedy struck close. Bess, my little sister, just 24, married to a local boy with a baby on the way. She took ill, sudden light fever raging through her body. Doctors scratching heads till it was too late. Pneumonia, they said, but I blamed the damn trailer and long hours at the laundry. Her funeral was a blur, black dresses and casseroles, the baby orphaned to us. Lily stepping up at 14 to mother the tot while I juggled shifts and grief. Roy's secret debt? It haunted still, collectors finding us again, threatening to take the family farm, the one thing Daddy clung to. I borrowed from shady lenders interest like a noose tightening, sold Mama's heirloom quilt to pay the Piper Pride cracking under the weight. Tommy enlisted anyway, 68 draft number low, as a snake's belly shipping out to the jungles of Namletter's home, full of heat and horror. It's hell green and sticky buddies dropping like flies. I'd read them to Lily, tears blurring the ink, praying to whatever God was listening. The news exploded, the Tet offensive body counts climbing on the evening reports, Willow Creek losing boys left and right, gold stars multiplying in windows. My boy came back changed, not in a box. Thank the Lord, but in pieces, soul shattered from what he'd seen, villages burned and friends gone. He'd hitchhike home silent, as a shadow jumping at loud noises, drowning sorrows in cheap beer at the VF. The 70s brought recession like a gut punch, oil embargo, lines at the pumps stretching to kingdom, come factories closing doors, Harlan laid off again, moving back with his family, the farmhouse bursting at seams. I worked 2 jobs, waitress by day, cleaning motels at night, feet swelling, ankles throbbing, but the bills mounted medical for Daddy's doctor visits, now cancer, they said, eating him from inside. Tommy married a girl from town sweet but fragile, had a son. My first grandson, little Roy, with Roy's eyes, but the marriage frayed, quick Vietnam ghosts whispering in the night, leading to fights, and finally her packing up, leaving him with a boy and a bottle. Secrets piled high, honey. One night, Tommy confessed over coffee, his voice cracking. He'd seen things in Nama village incident orders, followed, but shame burning hot, a moral wound that festered. I held him like he was 5 again, rocking him through sobs, the weight of generations crashing down. Lily eloped with a trucker heading west, promising letters that came sporadic tales of California dreams, but distance grew the baby she'd raised now, a toddler calling me Nana too soon. Daddy passed in 74, the farm sold to pay debts, auction day rain, slicking the ground bidders, circling like vultures, mama moving in with neighbors, her spirit dim, but eyes still sharp. I rallied though, found a trailer on the edge of town, cheap rent, and a view of the fields, started a daycare for the working moms, corralling rugrats with stories and snacks, turning chaos to comfort. Resilience, it ain't flashy, darling. It's showing up when you'd rather curl up. It's mending fences with neighbors who gossip. It's teaching Tommy to forgive himself one talk at a time. The 80s roared with Reagan on the radio tax cuts and mourning in America, but for small towns like ours, it was Rust Belt blues, more closures, the mill shutting down, leaving me scrambling for waitress gigs again. Lily's letters stopped cold rumors of bad choices, drifting back, divorce and drifting. We lost touch, her light snuffed out, too young heart attack. They said stress and smoke's catching up. Grandkids scattered Tommy's boy off to college on a scholarship. Lily's kids fostered out the family web fraying like old rope. 90s brought tech boom, but Willow Creek stagnated, young folks leaving for cities, leaving elders like me holding the fort. Tommy sobered up, found work at the auto shop, steady now with a new wife, kind and patient. The boy grown into a man, visiting Sundays with his own family. Secrets surfaced, fully one family gathering, DNA tests, all the rage, revealing Tommy Jr. had a half-brother from Roy's first marriage, a man in Ohio, reaching out bridges built over emails and tears. Vietnam's shadow linger, protests fading, but vets like Tommy joining groups, sharing stories, healing slow as sap from a pine. I nursed Mama through her last years, her hands frail, but stories flowing, tales of her own youth, depression, grit that mirrored mine. She went peaceful in 89, whispering about heaven, and reunions her passing a quiet close to an era. Then the big one, the Great Recession, '08, crashing like waves on the levee banks, failing jobs, vanishing, Tommy laid off again, the trailer payments, skipped lights flickering out. I was pushing 70, health failing knees like rusty hinges, but I baked pies for the fair, sold them to scrape by community, rallying bake sales and odd jobs, folks, remembering my kindnesses in their hour. Grandkids stepped up, pooling cash visits, more frequent stories swapped over, pot roast resilience, circling back like a well-worn path. Through it all, honey tragedies stacked high, World War II, stealing my first love Korea, my second Vietnam scarring my son, recessions stripping our security secrets, unraveling like pulled threads, family splintering and mending. But we endured small victories, a harvest, shared a letter, answered a hug that said enough. USA themes woven in wars that took our boys' economic punches, that tested our metal community, the glue holding small town souls together. It broke me down, built me up tougher, wiser, heart fuller for the cracks letting light in. The struggles deepened in the day-to-day, the loneliness creeping in nights when the wind howled through the trailer walls and memories played like old films. Tommy Sr.'s laugh, Roy's steady hand, Bess's smile, all gone but echoing. I'd walk to the diner, early fog on the fields, coffee brewing strong as my resolve, chatting with the old-timers about Roosevelt to Reagan, how the country's weathered storms worse than ours. One winter power out for days, we'd huddle by the space heater, sharing canned soup stories of blizzards, past Harlan's ghost and the tales his passing in 92, a car wreck on icy roads, another loss, but his kids coming around cousins, bonding over loss. Lily's absence hit hard as holidays, empty chair at the table. Her kids grown distant, foster care scars running deep, but I wrote letters anyway, forgiveness in every word, hoping they'd find their way. Tommy's Vietnam nights, he'd wake screaming, jungle vines clutching. I'd brew tea, sit vigil till dawn, his confessions pouring out atrocities. Buried deep, the secret of a buddy saved at cost of another guilt like lead in his veins. We healed slow therapy groups at the clinic, vets, sharing burdens, lightening loads. My role, the listener, the rock steady as Iowa soil. Were recession years, tested fate, the bank foreclosing on neighbors' auctions weekly. I barter skills sewing hems for eggs cannon jars for milk community co-op, born from necessity potlucks feeding dozens. Grandson Roy joined the Guard post 9/11 deployments to deserts far off, letters like echoes of old fears, but he came back whole, married, started a family, the cycle renewing hope amid the hurt. Secrets revealed in layers, one aunt's letter about mama's own unwed youth, hushed up in the 30s, strength passed down like heirlooms, tragedies layered, WWII's void, Korea's silence, Vietnam's rage, recessions grind, each building resilience muscles of the spirit forged in fire. Folksy bonds, neighbors dropping by with wood for the stove, or a pie just cause the USA spirit unbowed through wars and wants. Pacing those years, I learned loss ain't the end. It's the forge shaping you finer community, the anvil, faith, the hammer. Struggles, they defined me, honey, but didn't defeat turning pain to purpose one dawn at a time. Take that summer of '62, drought cracked the earth wells running dry. We hauled water from the creek, Tommy 12 helping bucket by bucket. His small shoulders straining but grin fierce, we got this mile. Or the Christmas '75 after daddy gone tree trimmed with paper chains, gifts wrapped in newsprint, but joy in the faces around the fire, laughter chasing shadows. Vietnam homecoming, 70 town divided, some cheering, some spitting. Tommy walked tall, head high, scars hidden but spirit unbroken. Lester's baby now, a young woman visiting sporadic, her own struggles. Teen mom like me, but hugs tight. Nana, you taught me grit. Economic hits '08. I volunteered at the food bank, sorting cans, stories swapped with the down and out, reminding me we're all one bad crop from the line. Resilience in the details, honey, a neighbor's loan repaid with interest, a family reunion under the old oak, secrets aired like laundry on the line, fresh start. Through tragedy, secrets, resilience bloom, WWII's lost birthing, Tommy Korea's void, strengthening bonds, Vietnam's pain, forging forgiveness, recessions, squeeze, tightening family ties, USA heart beating strong in small towns where folks hold on, share the load, rise together. Diving deeper into the Vietnam era, the protests reached even Willow Creek, marches in Des Moines. Tommy torn between duty and doubt, friends shipping out one by one gold stars and windows again. His return, shrapnel in the leg, limp, permanent, but worse, the nightmares. Agent Orange worries later, cancer scares that passed but lingered. I drove him to VA appointments, waiting rooms full of vets, eyes haunted, sharing smokes and silent support born from shared hell. Recession '08, grandson's deployment, Iraq dust storms and IED fears led us home. Grandma pray for us, echoing my own pleas decades back. He returned, PTSD gripping tight, but family therapy circles, mending what war broke my role, the elders sharing World War II tales. We made it through, darling, you will too. Secrets like Roy's brother, the half-uncle meeting awkward at first beer, share stories of lost years, bond formed late but true. Lily's kids reconnecting one by one, her daughter a nurse now hugs, healing old wounds. Missed you, Nana, tears washing clean. Tragedies built layers, each peeling back to resilience. Core community drives for vets, fundraisers for the laid-off church suppers, feeding souls and bellies. USA themes, wars, economic woes, but hope in the people to pull together spirit that outlasts all. Tommy's marriage, second time around, rocky at first. Her patience with his demons, my talks with her. Give him time, honey, he's carrying the world. Eventual peace, kids, grandkids filling the trailer with noise, life renewing. Harlan's family, after his passing, daughter taking over the old stories, keeping the line alive. Visits to the graveside, flowers, placed prayers, said continuity in the blood. Mama's final days, her confessions on secrets, a lost love in the war. Her strength source for us all, passing the torch. Keep going, Evie. Life's worth the fight. Her gone, the farmhouse memory, but spirit in every meal, every hug. Struggles wove the tapestry, dark threads, but bright ones too. Resilience, the pattern emerging stronger for the wear. Tying in USA history, the double word Dubon drives. I sold kissing booths for scrap metal blushes and bucks for the cause. Korea's forgotten war, Roy's letters sparse, cold as hell, ma, but fighting for freedom. Vietnam's divide town meetings, heated draft Dodgers versus Patriots, my silence loud supporting my boy. Recessions dust bowl, echoes in '08 dust again, but solar panels now hope and green energy. Viral elements, those wars, sacrifices, recessions, grit, small town, USA heart. Through it all, I stood honey bent, but not broken, secrets out, resilience and teaching grandkids. Life throws curves, but you swing anyway. Final struggles, the health battles, my own hip replacement, 95 pain shooting like lightning, but PT and what got me walking again. Tommy's heart scare '05, bypass surgery, family vigil prayers, answered slow recovery but alive. Grandkids losses, one car accident, 15 nephew gone, but memorial funds started community healing together. Resolution peaking, but struggles the forge. Hope hammered out one day at a time. Oh, honey, if those struggles were the dark valley, then what came after was the climb out, slow and steady, like hauling yourself up a steep hillside after a hard rain, mud sucking at your boots, but the sun breaking through the clouds just the same. By the time the new millennium rolled around, I was in my 70s, creaky as the porch swing, but still kicking with a fire in my belly that all those losses couldn't snuff out. The Great Recession had us backed into a corner, trailer payments overdue, and the pantry looking sparser than a politician's promises, but that's when the turnaround started, darling, piece by piece, like putting a puzzle together on a rainy afternoon. It began with family circling the wagons, Thomas Boy Roy Jr., now a grown man with a family of his own. He'd lost his job at the plant like so many others, but instead of folding, he rallied us all. Grandma, we ain't letting this beat us. He said, his voice steady like his grandpa's used to be, and we pooled what little we had started, a community garden out back of the trailer park, folks from town pitching in seeds and sweat, turning fallow dirt into rows of tomatoes and beans. That garden, it wasn't just food, honey. It was hope sprouting green and stubborn feeding bellies and spirits alike. The neighbors trading recipes and stories over fences, mending bonds frayed by hard times. I was out there every morning, hoe in hand, my bad knee protesting. But the ache in my heart, easing as kids from the park, helped plant pulling weeds like they were pulling us all forward. Tommy himself, he found his way back to steady ground after that second wife stuck by him through the rough patches. Her name was Clara, sweet as cornbread, with a laugh that filled the trailer like sunshine. They joined a vet support group down at the community center, old-timers and young ones from Iraq swapping war stories, not for pity, but for healing. And Tommy started opening up about Nam, those jungle secrets spilling out like water over a dam washed clean by the telling. One night he came home eyes clear for the first time in years, hugged me tight. Ma, thanks for hanging in there, you taught me grit. And just like that, the weight lifted a little, the family knot untangling. Roy Jr. and his wife had a baby girl, little Evie, after me, her tiny fists waving like flags of surrender to the past. And holding her, I felt Tommy Sr.'s dimples staring back at me, a circle closing soft and warm. Then the letters started coming, those that had gone silent for years. Lily's daughter, my grandgirl Sarah, she'd cleaned up her ACT nursing school under her belt. Wrote from Seattle, Nana, I've been wrong. Keeping away, life's too short after all you taught us. And before I knew it, she was on a bus crossing the country, hugging me fierce at the Greyhound station, tears mixing with laughter as we caught up on lost time. Turns out she'd had her own struggles, bad marriage, drifting jobs, but resilience ran in the blood, she said, echoing my own words back to me. The other grandkids followed suit, one by one phone calls turned into visits, reunions under the old oak tree at the county park, picnics with fried chicken and potato salad, just like back in the day, secrets aired out, gentle like no blame, just understanding. That half-brother from Roy's side, Uncle Jack, he drove down from Ohio gray-haired but grinning, brought photos of his family bridges built over coffee and kinfolk talk, turning strangers to siblings overnight. The town itself started healing too. Willow Creek shaking off the recession dust with a farmer's market on Saturdays, local crafts, and produced drawing folks from the cities, boosting spirits and wallets. I volunteered at the library, reading to the little ones, my voice creaky, but full of the stories that got me through, voice trembling on the sad parts, but steady on the hopeful ones. One day, the mayor even gave me a key to the city for all the years of holding things together. Granny Evie's the heart of this town, he said, and I blushed like a schoolgirl, but inside it felt right, the struggles paying off and community ties stronger than ever. USA pride swelled in those moments, honey, thinking of how we'd weathered World War II's bombs, Korea's cold, Vietnam's fire, and the economic punches, all of it forging us tougher, the American spirit alive in small towns where folks don't quit, they adapt and rise. Health-wise, I had my battles. The hip replacement finally took in '05, Doc, saying, Evelyn, you're tougher than you look. And PT had me walking laps around the park cane, tapping like a metronome to a new rhythm. Mama's old recipes kept me going, chicken soup for the soul, and body neighbors dropping by with a loaf or a jar of jam, checking in like family. Tommy, retired from the shop, hands gnarled but content, took up whittling again, carving little soldiers for the great-grandkids, reminders of heroes past without the pain. Clara and him traveled some Greyhound tours to the Grand Canyon, oohing over the views, sending postcards that made me smile. Wish you were here, Ma. And I was in spirit, if not in body. The real resolution hit during a family gathering summer of '15. All of us crammed into the trailer park pavilion, burgers on the grill, kids running, wild laughter, drowning out the crickets. Sarah brought her husband and their boy a towhead with questions a mile a minute, and Uncle Jack showed with his clan stories flowing like the creek after rain. We shared the secrets fully that night around the fire pit. Tommy Sr.'s love child, me, Lily's wanderings, Roy's debts, all laid bare under the stars. No shame, just truth binding us closer. We've lost a lot, I said, voice thick. But look what we've built, family from the ashes, resilience from the ruins, and hugs went round tears, and all the circle complete, hopeful as dawn. Through it all, the tone stayed realistic, darling, no fairy tale endings, just hard-won peace, the kind that comes from picking yourself up time and again. USA themes wove in the war's echoes, turning to vets' parades, honoring the fallen and the fighters, recessions, lessons in community co-ops, and shared loads, small-town grit, proving the heartland's unbreakable. Hope flickered steady now in grandkids' futures, college dreams, and steady jobs, the cycle renewed without the old shadows. And as the sun set on that gathering, I sat back feeling the weight lift fully, the hollow in my chest filled with the warmth of kin, the resilience I'd clung to blooming full. Life's not perfect, honey, but it's ours mended and moving forward one step at a time. Oh, honey, now that we've walked this long road together from the heartbreak that started it all through the storms that battered us to the sunshine breaking through, let me sit back with you here on this porch one last time and reflect on what it all means. The lessons carved deep into my soul like initials on an old oak tree. I'm 87 now, give or take, the years piling up like autumn leaves, but my mind's still sharp as mama's kitchen knife cutting through to the truth of things. Life, she ain't handed me nothing on a silver platter. No siree. It's been more like a rusty tin cup full of grit and grace, but looking back, I see the pattern, the way resilience weaves through every tear and trial, turning pain into something stronger, something worth passing on. Think about it, darling, that first big loss, Tommy Sr. gone before we could even start our forever. It shattered me, sure left me hollow as a cornstalk in winter, but from that ache came little Tommy Jr., my anchor, my reason to rise with the roosters and face the day. WWII took so many boys, our boys, America's boys, fighting for freedom on distant shores, and we here at home held the home front with ration books and prayers, gold stars, and windows like badges of unbreakable spirit. It taught me early that love don't vanish with a telegram. It lives on in the lives it touches, in the dimples of a child, or the stories we tell to keep the memory warm. I could have curled up in that grief, let it define me, but instead I chose to build to mother to endure, and that's the heart of it. Resilience ain't about never falling. It's about getting up with dirt on your dress and a fire in your eye. Then the layers piled on Korea, snatching Roy away, just when we thought we'd found steady ground. Another flag, another empty chair, but oh, the way it bonded us, me and the kids, leaning on each other like fence posts in a windstorm. Vietnam, that jungle nightmare, scarring my boy inside out, secrets of what he'd seen, weighing him down heavier than his rucksack. It broke my heart anew watching him wrestle those demons, but it also showed me the power of time and talk of sharing the load with folks who've walked the same mud. All those wars, USA's endless dance with duty from Pearl Harbor to the Tet Offensive to the deserts. Later they stole pieces of us, but they forged something unbreakable too. The community rallies, the vets' halls, where stories heal and hands clasp in solidarity, small town America, holding the line not with guns, but with guts and goodwill. And the money woes, honey, the recessions that hit like haymakers, the 30s, dust choking the sky, the 70s, oil lines snaking forever, the '08 crash turning dreams to dust again. Those economic gut punches tested our mettle, stripped us bare, but look what rose from the ashes: community gardens, co-ops and barters, neighbors becoming family when the dollars dried up. Willow Creek, we didn't have Wall Street wizards or bailouts. We had each other, trading eggs for labor or pies for prayers, and that taught me the real wealth ain't in bank accounts. It's in the people, the shared suppers, the helping hands that say we're in this together. USA themes run deep there. The pioneer spirit echoing from covered wagons to factory lines, proving we bounce back, not because we're invincible, but because we pull together, refusing to let the hard times win. Secrets too, those buried truths that bubbled up like spring water, Roy's debts, Tommy's regrets, my own unwed start. They could have poisoned everything, turned family to foes, but facing them head on, airing them out like laundry on a sunny line, brought us closer, healed the hidden hurts. I learned forgiveness ain't forgetting, it's choosing love over grudge, letting go of the weight so you can carry the good forward. And resilience, darling, it's the thread tying it all, the quiet choice to keep going through widowhoods and wanderings through lost farms and fractured kin. Showing up for the grandkids, even when your bones ache, whispering, you can do this too, because life's too precious to waste on what ifs. Now, in these golden years, watching great grandkids chase fireflies under the same Iowa sky. I see the hope clear as creek water, the cycle renewing without the old shadows. We've lost so much, Bess and Harlan, Mama and Daddy, the boys who didn't come home, but we've gained wisdom, a faith tempered like steel in the forge. The tone of it all realistic, no sugarcoating the pain, but hopeful, because dawn always follows the darkest night. America, she's weathered worst tempests, civil strife, world wars, depressions, and come out shining, her heartland pulse steady beating in places like Willow Creek, where folks like me prove that one woman's story can mirror a nation's grit. So here's my reflection, honey. Life's a tapestry woven with heartbreak and heroism tragedies that test you secrets, that shape you resilience, that saves you. From that porch swing where we started, I see it clear. Cherish the kin call home. Forgive the past, hold tight to hope. And above all, share your story because in the telling we all heal a little. If this tale tugged at your heartstrings like it did mine, go on and share it with your own folks. Tag a friend who's been through the ringer or that family member needing a reminder that they're not alone. Hit that like button if it rang true and subscribe for more stories from the heartland because life's too short not to pass on the light. Y'all take care now and remember Granny Evie's words, we rise together stronger for the storms.